Welcome to the Smarter Science of Slim, the scientifically proven program where you eat more and exercise less to burn fat and boost health.
Eat smarter, exercise smarter, live better. I am so ready for that.
Hey everyone, Jonathan Bailor and Carrie Brown back with another, dare I say, epic Smarter Science of Slim show. Carrie, how you doing today?
Well, we should probably leave the designation of epic till the end.
Well, I think this is an epic one because it's going to cover, we're going to talk about fat today. Fat, all sorts of ways to think about fat, burning fat, eating fat, PHAT. No, I'm just kidding. We're not going to talk about that last one.
I love fat. I love eating fat. I think fat's awesome.
So
I like some kinds of fat more than others. It's like, oh, for goodness sake,
what
Carrie.
are your favorite fats?
Bacon, chocolate,
Okay.
butter,
Okay.
coconut, kind of. Getting there on the coconut, kind of. Used to hate coconut. Now I eat it quite a lot.
Yep.
Avocado.
Avocado. Yep,
Yum.
that's good stuff.
Nuts.
Nuts.
Love nuts.
I like macadamias.
I do too.
Those are my favorite. And those are actually probably the best of the nuts with the exception of coconut. Very good option for you with a lot of monounsaturated anti-inflammatory fats, which are otherwise very hard to find.
Eggs.
Yeah,
I
eggs
do
are a
love
fat.
eggs. Do love eggs.
65% of their calories coming from fat makes eggs a fat, which of course means nothing other than that they are fat. And fortunately, they are a high quality fat, so that is good.
Woohoo!
So some other ways to think of fat, in addition to just the types of food we eat, is we will hear about this term called ketosis.
Oh, I've heard about that a lot, and I don't really know what it is.
Yes. So
Help me.
I will help you. And I'm going to keep this incredibly high level because I know the lovely listeners of our wonderful show are much more focused on living their lives and living their lives optimally rather than geeking out like me on nutrition.
So when my eyes glaze over, there's your cue that the listeners are done.
Okay, well, it's going to be very, very simple. Ketosis is basically, so first of all, we all experience it every single day.
Okay.
So first and foremost, sometimes there are propagandists out there who will equate ketosis with bad. Like ketosis is bad. Like you don't want to be in ketosis. So two things.
I've heard, I've kind of skimmed the internet and seen, ketosis bad, blah, blah, blah. And then ketosis good, blah, blah, blah. So that's kind of why I'm confused.
So there is something that is really bad. It's called ketoacidosis. That is a different thing, but as is common with things in the health world, if two words sound alike, people are like, oh, well, ketoacidosis is horrible for you. So therefore ketosis, which sounds like that word, must also be bad. It is not. They are two very, very different things. So ketosis, first of all, when you wake up in the morning, you are in ketosis because ketosis, very high level, just means your body is fueling itself using fat rather than sugar. That's really all it means.
How could anyone think that was bad?
Exactly. There is this mythology that your body requires carbohydrate. Now, this is not an episode saying that we should all go on low carb diets. It's also not an episode saying low carb diets are bad for you. They're absolutely not. In fact, they're one of the most scientifically valid and studied way of eating in the world. But it is to say that this assumption that we've been told for the past 40 years that 65% of our diet should be carbohydrate because that's the optimal fuel for our body is patently false. There is no such thing as an essential carbohydrate. There is such thing as an essential amino acid, aka protein, and an essential fatty acid, aka fat. If you never ate a carbohydrate in your entire life, your body could fuel itself just fine via the process known as ketosis, aka burning fat as fuel, and it could also create all the glucose, aka sugar it needs, through a process that we've talked about on the show called gluconeogenesis, whereby protein is converted into sugar.
So we all want to be in ketosis then?
So we want to be, it is absolutely critical that we give our body the ability to effectively fuel itself using fat. And that sounds obvious, but if our body is not good at using fat for fuel, keeping fat off our body is going to be extremely difficult. And this is why actually eating fat, because we talk about on the show a lot how things that are intuitive aren't always true, right? It's intuitive that the earth is flat. Look outside, it looks flat. And if it wasn't flat, wouldn't the people on the bottom fall off? Well, we know there's gravity. We know that's not how the world works. And it's intuitive that doesn't eating fat make you fat? Right, it's fat.
Right.
You put it in your mouth and it just goes and it sits on your hips, right? That is intuitive, but it is wrong. Here's a better and more scientifically accurate way to think about it, okay? When you eat, your body gets good at fueling itself based on what you eat. Makes sense, right? Like
Right.
the more sugar you eat, the better your body's going to be at running off of sugar, because it's like, well, this is the normal state for me. I better get used to this. Now let's think about how this works. If your body is best at burning sugar, meaning sugar is its preferred fuel source, for all intents and purposes, your body does not store sugar. The only way to store energy on your body, practically, there is some level of glucose in your muscles and blah, 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 blah. But practically, it's in your fat. So the way your body stores energy is through fat. But if you eat mostly sugar and your body is good at burning sugar and prefers to burn sugar, then let's say you eat breakfast and it's a Pop-Tart and orange juice. Very common breakfast here in the States. Sugar. You basically had some sugar for breakfast. Well, in an hour, your body has either burned through that sugar or more likely shuttled it off into your fat cells. So there's no sugar around. So your body needs energy. Well, there's no sugar around. So what's it going to do? It's going to make you hungry. Because the only way to get more sugar is to take some through your lips.
Okay.
Now, think about if your body's more accustomed to burning fat for fuel. And let's say maybe you have a delicious frittata with vegetables for breakfast.
That was me today.
Exactly, right? So you eat mostly fat. Most of your calories are coming from fat. You got some protein and you got some extremely healthy carbohydrate in the form of vegetables.
Yum. It was delicious.
It's delicious. So you get your calories, you get your nutrients, you get your energy. And then a few hours later, you're sitting in the office, you're sitting at the house, you're sitting with your family and friends, and there's no more energy floating around in the bloodstream. Your body's like, I need some more energy. And you know what I like to use for energy? Fat. Oh, hey, good news. There's some sitting right here on my hips. Oh, there's some sitting right here, maybe on my belly a little bit. So the opposite of eating fat makes you fat. In fact, eating fat, helping your body to become conditioned at fueling itself off of fat, makes you better at burning fat, because when you get into a state where you have a shortage of exogenous energy, your body can just say, well, that's okay. I don't need to take any more fat through my lips. I can just eat it off my hips.
The compelling reasons for not eating sugar just pile on, don't they?
Well, think about it, Carrie. Why is it?
I can actually visualize what you just said happening in my mind, which is great, right? Because now every time I get that craving for sugar, I'm going to go, nope, I don't want to do that, because that's going to help my body to think that sugar's the way to go. And so I can visualize that in my mind. That's super helpful for me. Thank you, sir. My
pleasure, madam. And the other thing that I was going to say, which is completely escaping me right now, was I so appreciate that you made that point, but it caused me to lose my train of thought. Damn it, Carrie! No, I'm just kidding. Shucks. Oh, yes, I remember now. Okay. So, again, we do not plan or edit these shows. You get the real thing here, folks. This is uncut, uncensored, real Jonathan and Carrie.
Live and direct.
So, Again, okay, Carrie, this is another just observation we can all associate with. And I think we can, we talk about studies till we're blue in the face, but give me one personal anecdote that I can relate to experientially, and you'll convince me more than any study in the world. So think about this. How is it that a person could have 50 pounds of stored energy on their body and be hungry? Because energy is available. I mean, at the highest of levels, how is it that a person who has hundreds of thousands of calories just sitting on their body can become hungry?
I don't know, but please tell us.
Well, what you'll notice, and one of the reasons that a sane lifestyle causes people to experience sustained fat loss, is we already talked about hormonal re-regulation and restoring your body's ability to burn fat and lowering your set point and all that kind of fun stuff. But the other thing is, it re-enables your body to tap into its fat stores to fuel itself. If you've read the first book, The Smarter Science of Slimmer, the upcoming, well, when this airs, it'll probably be out, which is scary to think about, the Calorie Myth book, your ability to burn fat comes back, and you will experience what's called a spontaneous reduction of caloric intake. Now, and this is what some people who want to be haters are like, well, when you eat a sane lifestyle, you end up eating fewer calories, so blah, 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 blah. Accidentally putting fewer calories into your mouth because your body automatically supplements that with calories coming off your hips and belly and wherever you're storing fat.
I like that idea.
And you're never hungry. And part of the reason you're not hungry is because despite the fact that you've achieved a spontaneous reduction of caloric intake, aka you get more satisfied on fewer calories, you just don't if you're just full after eating 1,600 calories and there's 1,600 super high quality calories that have more nutrition in them than you would have gotten from 5,000 calories at a standard American diet, and you have 50 pounds worth of stored calories sitting on your body, you won't be hungry because your body will just say, wow, I've got all this nutrition, so I'm good on terms of nutrition because your body isn't storing like vitamin C on your hips, but it is storing calories on your hips. So it's just like, I don't really need all that food through my lips because, again, I can just get it off my hips. So that's why you're not it's not that you're trying harder, just the opposite. It's much simpler, but you've restored your body's ability to feed itself.
I like that. I like that a lot. The body is an amazing thing.
It is an amazing thing, Carrie.
If we just let it.
If, in fact, we acknowledge this, the default hypothesis for the past 40 years is actually that our body is dumb and broken, right? And that we need to intervene and count calories and exercise it all over the place. And because why? Because the body is inadequate. That's the assertion at the root of that argument is that the body is inadequate by default. We know that's not true, as evidenced by every single generation of people that lived up until the current ones. The body is designed, and the body evolved, depending on your religious beliefs, to be healthy and to be fit, as long as we just get out of its way. So I also wanted to talk about fat, Carrie, because obviously a sane lifestyle is not a low-fat diet. But if you peruse the internet, and we've covered this a couple times, but I just want to cover it in a little bit of a different fashion, people will sometimes say that a sane lifestyle is a low-fat diet. And I just want to cover that one more time, because obviously in this talk about making your body good at burning fat, and the way you do that is by eating more fat. Clearly, I mean, even some people who listen to this might think this is the Atkins diet. Well, here's where the confusion comes into play. There are high-fat diets, and there are low-fat diets. And sometimes the internet likes to be polarizing.
Bless its heart.
Bless its heart, right? That's because moderation generally doesn't sell very well. It's usually extremism. So there are high-fat diets. High-fat diets generally recommend you get anywhere from 70 to 90% of your calories from fat. There are amazingly high-quality high-fat diets, and there are amazingly low-quality high-fat diets. Then there are low-fat diets. Low-fat diets generally recommend that you get under 15% of your calories from fat. You can have a very high-quality low-fat diet, and you can have a very low-quality low-fat diet. Then there's every other way of eating in the world, aka a moderate fat diet, which is, I know, crazy as it seems. Just because you do not recommend a low-fat diet doesn't mean you recommend a high-fat diet, and just because you don't recommend a high-fat diet doesn't mean you recommend a low-fat diet. What we generally find is that a lot of people can do really, really well on really any level of fat intake according to their lifestyle, as long as they're getting it from sane sources.
You mean there's gray?
Shocking, I know. So again, it's about finding what works for us, and there's high-fat sanity, low-fat sanity, moderate fat sanity. It's about whatever you're eating. Protein, carbohydrate, fat. Sanity, sanity, sanity. The rest is up to you. Find your sanity.
Quality, people. Quality. That's what we want. Quality in all things.
And if you can't be high quality, what do you always say to me? Be careful.
Be good. And if you can't be good, be careful.
Yes. And if you can't be good, be careful. Well, Carrie, we actually wrapped that podcast up a little bit quicker than I anticipated.
Well, do you want us to sing?
You want us to tap dance? Well, I think actually a good way to end the podcast would be talking. You already covered a bit about some of your favorite foods that contain fat, but they were more individual ingredients. I say maybe we close with each one of us giving our 2 favorite dishes or the 2 favorite ways we get healthy fats into our diet.
2?
Just 2. Your top 2. Your top 2.
Well, that changes depending on what day of the week it is, what mood I'm in, what time of day it is. I'm a woman. Come on.
Speaking of gray, pick 2, woman. No, I'm just kidding.
I can't pick 2. You start.
Okay, I will start. So I will say my favorite is, well, first of all, for me, saturated fat is uniquely satisfying. And again, saturated fat has been wrongfully demonized as being unhealthy. In fact, coconut is basically pure saturated fat. And I have yet to, actually, I found one person. There's one extremely extreme person on the internet who's like, oh, even coconut will kill you, which is obviously false. But the coconut is basically pure saturated fat, and it is pure what's called medium chain triglyceride, which is a saturated fat. To me, it just satisfies me in a way that no amount of unsaturated fats could. Cocoa is also a saturated fat, predominantly a saturated fat. Again, uniquely satisfying. So I love finding ways to take cocoa and coconut either alone or together with some natural non-caloric sweeteners. I'm thinking xylitol, stevia, low-hongo, erythritol, and whether it's with some eggs or egg whites or some Greek yogurt or some cottage cheese, just finding ways to maybe freeze it, blend it, bake it. It's good eating. And I also, my number 2 is going to be macadamia nuts. I really, really like macadamia nuts. To me, they're just little balls of heaven. They make me happy.
That's 3.
Well, you've done 0, so I'm trying to pick up the weight.
So now I only have to do 1. I would say the thing I eat most often of, so I'll use that as my number 1, will be eggs. I love eggs. I never get tired of eating eggs. I typically cook them with veggies, non-starchy veggies, or I'll bake them with salmon or turkey or some other protein. But eggs, I love. And then, my second one isn't actually very sane, so we'll skip that.
I have a comment about eggs.
Okay.
For me, eggs, well, let me just say this way. I don't like scrambled whole eggs. I like scrambled egg whites. Scrambled whole eggs don't taste good to me, but I like whole hard-boiled eggs and whole eggs over easy. Like
I love hard-boiled eggs.
Yeah, but there's just something about scrambled. I mean, people always hear I talk about like I use egg whites, and they're like, "Oh, you're afraid of fat." Well, no, I just don't like the taste of whole scrambled eggs. I like the taste of egg whites, but I very much like just putting some coconut oil in the pan and then having my whole eggs with some pepper on top of them. I just think that is absolutely fabulous. Or some hard-boiled eggs.
I do love hard-boiled eggs.
Salt them up. That's good.
My second one would probably be nuts, and I would probably have to go with almonds.
No, well, if you're going to go with nuts and non-macadamias or coconuts, almonds are going to be a good alternative.
They're so versatile. They go in so many things. I've used them in sweet dishes. I've used them in savory dishes. Almonds. I love almonds.
And the thing for me, nuts are they're great, especially for kids. Because people always talk about, kids need calories, and of course that's true. And this is also more of a global macro point. Sometimes people say, well, it's all well and good to talk about sanity, but what about like feeding the world? You can't feed the world on kale and wild-caught Alaskan salmon. And while that is true, you can feed the world on whole food fats because they are plants too, right? So nuts, seeds, almonds, macadamia, cocoa, coconut, you can produce these things in mass. And if you need to get calories into your body, aka you're an endurance athlete, you're a growing child, or you're an impoverished country that just needs the most calories for the buck, you are not going to find a healthier or more abundant or even more cost-effective way of doing that relative to the health implications than you will from whole food fat. So that's another great argument for not fearing fat and celebrating the sanest sources.
I love fat.
Folks, in
Bacon.
addition...
That would be my number 3. You had 3. I've got 3 now.
I was in the process of doing the outro and you said bacon.
I know.
Again, uncut, uncensored. You get the real high quality Jonathan and Carrie, which is good.
They were all wanting me to say bacon.
They want so many things, Carrie. Folks, this week and every week after, eat smarter, exercise smarter, bear with us, and live better. Chat with you soon.
See ya.
Wait, don't stop listening yet.
You can get fabulous free SANE recipes over at carriebrown.com.
And don't forget your 100% free eating and exercise quick start program, as well as free, fun, daily tips delivered right into your inbox at bailorgroup.com. That's BAILOR group.com.